Welcome to the Dad and Cole Football Patrol.
That's right. What's going on, guys? I am Dad.
And I'm Cole.
Cole, week 3 was crazy, man. There was all sorts of crazy upsets and bad news. So let's start with the bad news. San Francisco 49ers fans, my heart goes out to you. Jimmy G, Cole, your thoughts?
Had a torn ACL.
Yeah, so what do you think, man? What's your reaction to that news?
We had high hopes for him.
We did, and he had been kind of playing well. I mean, they were off to a little bit of a sluggish start, but you saw hints of things to come. And I think it was unrealistic just to think that he's going to continue that crazy win streak like he was on at the end of last year. However, disappointing news for San Francisco. They suffered a big injury earlier in the offseason with Jerick McKinnon. I think most people thought they could potentially overcome that, but you're not going to overcome a Jimmy G injury. Cole, let me ask you this. There's some whispers about Eagles potentially trading Nick Foles. That might be whispers just created by the fan base. Were you doing whispers? Not with any really reality beyond just kind of the rumor mill. If you're the Eagles, would you pick up the phone to call the 49ers to make a trade offer?
Yeah.
Yeah, and why is that?
Because we know that Carson Wentz is back, so you don't need Nick Foles anymore.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
And if Nate Sudfeld gets hurt, then you can just start Joe Callahan.
Joe Callahan? Who the heck is that?
You don't even know him.
So, Cole, you brought up Carson, so let's talk about the other bit of big news. Carson Wentz made his return, much to our joy here in the Philadelphia area.
Started Matt Ryan.
Well, yeah, let's put fantasy aside for the moment. Carson was not a strong fantasy play, but what did you see, just as a fan of football, with Carson Wentz's return on Sunday? How did you think he played?
Not so well.
Really? Now tell me why. What were you thinking?
He threw an interception, fumbled the ball once.
Yeah, so he did make a really bad play where he stared down Zach Ertz and threw an interception. But you know what? I'm okay with that. That's to be expected. There's a little bit of rust. But I thought right from that opening drive they had the ball, he methodically marched down the field. Whenever he had to kind of run a little bit or got sacked, he looked completely comfortable with his knee and his leg. And the thing that I love about Carson, which you are not going to get with Nick Foles, he is like a field general before the snap. He's audibling plays. He's changing up schemes. There's a lot of plays where he changed the play to a run, and Smallwood broke it off and got great gains. So I think having Carson, the field general, back was huge. So great having him back if you're an Eagles fan, which we always admit that we are. So Carson, great to have you back, man.
Let's take a look at some of the games from the past weekend.
Yeah, let's do it, Cole. This was a wild weekend of football. I think a lot of upsets and maybe some people were not expecting.
The Bills beat the Vikings.
Yeah, who saw this one coming? If you were watching, you did not see this one coming. So if you were watching any of the pregame shows at all, especially for the fantasy football focus shows, all you heard in regards to this game was there's not a single Bill you should be playing. It's going to be a disaster. Now, look, you shouldn't be starting any Bills, really, if you are playing fantasy football. But let's put that to the side for a moment and talk about true football here. Cole, was this just a game that got away from Minnesota and you're not worried about things? Or is this a really bad loss for Minnesota and a sign of trouble to come down the road for their season?
It's a really good loss.
Well, I asked you, it's a really bad loss. So what do you mean it's a really good loss? Like it's not that big of a deal and they can come back from it?
That means really good teams don't lose usually 2 times in a row.
No, you're right about that.
That means they're going to beat the Rams.
Okay, so you love, all right, so we're doing even a little sneak peek preview. You like them to bounce back in a big way against the Rams on Thursday night. Well, I think you're bringing up an interesting point, Cole, and that's the theory of the letdown game, the sandwich game, the look-ahead game. Whenever teams have a really big game on their calendar the following week and a not-so-good opponent staring them right in their face, like the Vikings had this past weekend, playing the Bills, not a good opponent, with the Rams on a Thursday night, there can be a tendency to have a letdown. So we're going to see. I'm very curious. I think this could be a sign of some trouble down the road. That defense, I don't know. They got lit up, but we'll see.
Titans over Jags.
Yeah, Cole, another one I don't think many people were predicting. Mike Vrabel clearly has his hand on the pulse down there with his young team. Mariota had to come in relief of Blaine Gabbert, who got hurt. Your thoughts? I mean, are the Titans contenders, or are they just kind of squeaking out some early season wins here?
Just squeaking out some early season wins.
I agree. I don't really think the roster's there for Vrabel.
And they just had 3 field goals.
Yeah, right. I think you're making the point. Like, you know, it's not like they're setting the world on fire. I don't think the roster is really there for them to be a playoff contender. But that is a big win, so props to those guys.
Redskins beat the Packers.
Yeah, how about this now? Unless your name is Pap down there in Maryland, I don't know that anyone else was expecting the Redskins to win this one. But a big bounce-back win for Alex Smith, Redskins and company, after dropping a game to the Colts. So they get back into the win column. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they struggled here, Cole. It was a pretty lopsided game. I think it was 31-17 was the final.
Yeah, I thought they were going to lose.
So what do you think? Do you think this spells some potential long-term trouble for Rodgers and the Packers?
Trouble.
Yeah, look, I've been saying all along, I always want to put my money on Rodgers. I never want to count him out. However, I've also been cautioning that by saying I don't know that the Packers have a complete team around him, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Could be issues long-term for Rodgers, but I'm never going to count that guy out.
The last game that we're going to look at is Lions beat the Patriots.
Yeah, man, here's another shocking game. So, Cole, I've gotten a lot of things wrong with my predictions heading into this year, like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But one thing I have been saying all summer, you've been on that, I know. I'll give you props on that. But one thing I have been steadily stating over the summer as we headed into this season, I had a sneaky gut feeling that the Patriots were going to have some issues and some challenges.
You've been saying that.
Yeah, and look, I got a ton wrong, so I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm just simply stating that I kind of saw this one coming, and it seems to be playing out. Now, do you think this is more of a matter of the Lions being desperate and having to get a win, or do you think there's some real trouble with Belichick and company in New England?
Well, I think the Lions were they just got to win.
They were just really due. Do you think there's anything to do with Matt Patricia being the head coach of the Lions, being familiar with his old team he used to coach at with the Patriots? Do you think that helped him out at all? Is there some familiarity there? I'm going to be real curious to see how New England bounces back. They're 1-2, another loss for them. With the Dolphins being 3-0 in the division, they could get buried very quickly, so it's going to be interesting to watch. All right, Cole, so let's wrap up our review here. I have just a question in general for you. After 3 weeks, what's your biggest kind of surprise or thing you didn't see coming at all from this season so far? Go across the whole league and give me just one thing that you're really shocked about.
Michael Kendrick's getting traded to the Seahawks.
Yes, well, so first of all, we can even back that up a step. He got in trouble, then he got cut from the Browns, and then I think he signed as a free agent, I believe, with the Seahawks. So that was a shocker to you that he bumped around 2 different teams within like 3 weeks.
And Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. That's another good one. That's a disappointment. I feel bad for those guys.
So a third shocker is that the Patriots are in one of the last place.
Yeah, I know. I think across the whole nation, as far as the bigs, I think a lot of people are shocked and surprised by that. Again, not to toot Dad's own horn a little bit, but I kind of thought like I saw that one coming. But there's a lot of football left. But I agree. Even though I kind of thought that might happen, it's still a shock to seeing it unfold. So the biggest shocker for me, I was just tooting my own horn. Now I'll own up to one of my biggest blown predictions, and that's Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I was even saying it. I know. I was even saying that he was going to be like a liability for that offense. But, man, he has completely proved me wrong. I know it's early and there could still be some challenges down the road, but they look like the real deal in Kansas City. I'll still stick to my guns and say that Reed will blow it come playoffs times. But as far as right now, I don't think there's any bigger than the Mahomes storyline right now in the NFL.
What's your biggest surprise after 3 weeks?
Yeah, guys, we would love to hear from you. Leave a comment. Let Cole and I know what's the biggest surprise to you after 3 weeks. Please do leave a comment. And Cole, we would love if people out there could hit the subscribe button. You can stay up.
Where is it?
It's right there. It's like a red thing on your computer, or if you're watching on your phone.
Oh, right there?
Hit that red subscribe button.
Is that the X
We'd
button?
love for you. Yeah, don't that. That's going to X us out of our recording. That's a different red button. But we'd love for you to hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our content that we're going to put out all season long and all over the off season. So thanks so much for checking out the video. Any last words from you, my friend?
Bye.
Bye.